So, do you like podcasts? Did you want to ever make your own, but just thought it wasn't for you, that it was too hard? Well, it really isn't that hard if you have the right partners. I mean, Justin and I, we use Buzzsprout, and it's been fantastic. It's real easy to use. It gets you listed on like every major podcast platform. I mean, we're on Pandora, we're on Stitcher, Amazon Music, Spotify, Google Podcasts, you name it, we're there. It just makes it super easy. You get these cool looking website that you can customize. You got these awesome audio players that you can just pick up and drop into other websites. It's the easiest way to promote your episodes. It really is. And not only that, but you go to Buzzsprout and you've already got 100,000 other people already using it, can tell you how great it is. It's just really the best way to go. And if you want to get started, all you got to do is take some gear that you already have. I mean, I started with a gaming headset, and we moved my way up. So it's not hard, I'm promising you. And if you want to get started, you just click on the Buzzsprout affiliate link in the show notes, and you get a $20 Amazon gift card. If you sign up, and it helps us out too, and it's just good all around. Hello everybody, I am the Average Joey from the Average Joe's Movie Clubcast. Just wanted to do a little video right here at the beginning before we get into this next episode. So first off, this video was recorded back in January. So when it says Happy New Year, well, now you know why. About it also being from January, and this is obviously February. Just had some stuff going on. Got a little bit behind. Haven't really been able to edit or wanted to edit, or even really record. It's just been a lot of stress. So finally, I felt like that I, regardless, needed to do this and get this video out. And I have two other ones that are actually back from October, November of 2021 that will be coming as well. So just be on the lookout for those. For now, it's just going to be on YouTube. Eventually, we will get back to being on Buzzsprout, which lets us be on all the streaming platforms for podcasts: Stitcher, Amazon, Apple, Spotify, etc. But for now, just on YouTube. Other things coming in the pipe. Hopefully soon I will start recording some more Schlock talk, and getting that back out. It may not be in the 2-week increments like it was there to start with, but I hopefully get it on some sort of more of a regular schedule. Be on the lookout. This is a Wednesday. Hopefully by the following Monday, you should see the next main episode of Average Joe's, which should be on Monster and Walk the Line. Check out the new Twitter page. I did do that in this kind of hiatus-y downtime. I did start the Average Joe's Movie Club at Twitter. It's at and then all capitals AJMCC. Not sure what we're really going to do for it yet, but we posted some reviews for stuff that we're not watching on the podcast. We've, like, hey, this is coming soon. We kind of see us tweet back and forth with Cinematic Underdogs, who we are going to be on another one of their episodes coming up real soon. So just a lot of cool stuff in the pipe. Keep on the lookout. Hopefully there will be some more new exciting stuff coming in the coming months. I'm not really going to say anything yet, but be on the lookout. And with that being said, I am the Average Joey. I watch hot ass trash, so you don't have to.
repatriate feeling? Spirit to start.
I think this just might be my masterpiece.
Happy New Year, everybody, and welcome to the Average Joe's Movie Clubcast presents Schlock Talk, where we watch hot-ass trash so you don't have to. As always, I'm Joey, and this week I'm joined by my good friend, Howard. How are you doing this evening?
What's up, buddy? Doing great. Hope you are.
Yeah, man, I can't complain. So I hope everybody had a good holiday season and a good New Year. We're coming in with the what should be the first episode of 2022 here. And we did a little different this time around. We didn't go with like a straight horror movie since that's what most of the Boo movies are. But I did let Howard pick it, and we are going to be doing Ninja III Domination, which, if you look on like Wikipedia and stuff, it says it's an action horror movie, but it's debatable. So we got our first new host in a while. So we're going to ask some questions so everyone gets to know you.
Man, I'm excited. I'm sitting here and I got my V8 juice ready.
Oh boy, not that I ever drank a lot of V8 juice, but I don't know if I'll ever look at it the same way again. We'll get back to that in a second because I definitely had a different connotation of that when you said something about it yesterday. So. You're big into the whole like B movie and schlock thing, right?
Yeah. Now I know there are people out there who are way bigger into it than I am, but I've always just loved them. You know, man, it's just been my thing for a long time.
All right. Do you remember what like got you into this whole kind of like subgenre of? I don't even know if it's a what do you want to call it? A subgenre of viewing.
Sure. I mean, it takes all kinds, right? So there's people who love like who are just they look at movies as just fine art, and they find that certain things are on one end of the spectrum are very artistic, and they may view the other things on the other end pretty ridiculous. And I don't know why, but I've just always kind of been drawn to that more ridiculous and obscure side of things. You know, we were talking before we came on air about how old we were and how we're getting older, and you know, I'm a kid of the '80s, and we got a VCR like in the early '90s. I wasn't able to get a VCR in the '80s, so we finally got one in the '90s, and you know, video rental places were all over back then, and like in my little town that I live in. We just had a gas station, and he started renting videos inside the gas station. And so, you know, it wasn't like you'd get first run films, and the new releases, the good stuff would always be checked out. So all this other weird, obscure stuff that came in the giant boxes, if you remember those great big VHS boxes and the clamshells, all that was kind of left. And I was always drawn. I've always been into comic books too, and I was always really drawn to the artwork on the outside of the VHS covers. And man, it was always cheaper to rent those bad movies too, because you know they were older releases, and usually it was only $1, or depending on where you went to, you could rent 5 of them for 5 days for $5. That was always kind of the deal around here. And man, I just pile up on all these weird, obscure, dubbed foreign horror movies and Euro trash, and you know, all these kind of movies, and I loved it. And then as I got a little bit older, or around that time, Mystery Science Theater started, and that's when I really began to find, you know, okay, we can watch this, and we ain't got to watch it just for the sole purpose of enjoying the movie, you know, as a film, as a piece of art. We can enjoy it for just the absurdity of it and how ridiculous it is, which is why I picked this movie for us to watch.
Well, this movie is definitely absurd. You got that correct. Now, believe it or not, I've actually never seen an episode of Mystery Science Theater 3000. Now, I've seen movies that have been featured on it. But as Carl is the one who kind of like hardcore introduced me to this, I believe it was, Mama Didn't Raise No Bitch kind of thing. So we're out here watching like Manos and Plan 9 and stuff like that, just straight. No, granted, we're laughing and we're kind of doing the Mystery Science Theater 3000 thing ourselves, but yeah, never actually watched an episode of that. So actually, and I wanted, before I get into a few more questions, so we've known each other for a while, but typically we run in the same circles, but we're always in them at different times for the most part, it seems. So like, if you're at Heroes, which is our local gaming store, you're there to play like Modern. We're talking about Magic the Gathering,
right.
And I'm there to play Commander. So we're always like in the same circle, but like on the opposite side. And like we follow each other on Letterboxd, and both do like the kind of schlocky stuff. But it's just I was very excited because we haven't talked as much as I feel like we probably should have with the things that we have in common.
Yeah,
so I was pretty excited to do this. So with that being said, I'm going to interrogate you a little bit. So we we like the schlocky stuff here, but outside of that, or including that, whichever one, what would you say is your favorite genre?
Oh man, it's horror. I mean, there's no doubt about it. Horror is my go-to, man. It's always what I've loved, and it was one of those things where, we were talking about being parents a little while ago too. It's funny how all this stuff's kind of coming back around, but like when you're a kid and an adult tells you don't do that or don't watch that or you can't see that, and you ask why, and they say because I said so. The very first thing that kid wants to do is find out why they're saying that.
Oh, so 100%. That is the surefire way to get your kid to do something you don't want them to do. Hell, I'm 36, and if you're like, hey, don't do this, and I'm like, no, well, why? And you're like, because I said so, or you don't give me an actual legitimate reason, you best believe I'm taking my ass to go do it.
And so like, me being me as a kid, and, I was a latchkey kid, so that meant I had a lot of time at home by myself, and there wasn't I was supervised, and I had a good childhood. I don't want to sound like my parents were terrible, but I'm Generation X, so we came home every day and we were by ourselves for a little while. So, I would rent these movies, and if you guys remember, I don't know, I never had Blockbuster, so I don't know how strict Blockbuster was about renting movies to kids, but for me, if I walked into Chabron Video, which was the little video store a couple miles from where I live now, and I picked out like Andy Warhol's Frankenstein, which was an X-rated Frankenstein movie from the 70s. And I brought it up to the front. There were no questions. They just rented it to me. It wasn't like there was anybody policing what I was watching back then. So, I was exposed to this world of horror movies because I was fascinated by them. Because I grew up in church, but I wasn't. And my religion is important to me, so I don't want it to sound like I'm downplaying it. But it was one of those things that was talked about that we shouldn't watch or do, especially as kids. And you should only really watch Garfield, and that could be the worst thing that you watch, and everything else needs to be Disney and whatnot. So seeing somebody like Freddy Krueger at the front of the video store made me want to go and rent Friday the 13th. Or A Nightmare on Elm Street, or Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And of course, I learned the hard way. I'd have nightmares. I'd get scared. I was a kid, and that stuff was scary as all get out. But I've always been fascinated by the scary stuff, man. Like Halloween's my favorite holiday. It's always just been something that I've just loved. I like getting scared. That feeling, that invigorating feeling you get when you get spooked a little bit, man. It's great. And I'm not saying that it takes a lot for a movie to scare me these days, but there is some good stuff out there, I guess, even to this day. But to put a long answer on a very brief question, horror is my favorite genre. Yeah.
I kind of had that suspicion, especially after we had some conversation back in October about the big release then of Halloween Kills, where you and I had very different opinions. And if anybody on this channel doesn't know my opinions, you can go and check out the Halloween special on the channel, where me and Justin have quite the lively debate. Even though that wasn't the movie of the pick. Now, we're going to talk about Halloween on a small little tangent here. The actual movie franchise, the first movie Halloween, is actually one of my favorite horror movies, and I definitely had a renaissance of like horror movie liking since living with Carl, because I never was really into horror movies, but like the horror movies that I was exposed to when I was younger, so now we're into the 90s, because I'm a little bit younger than you, so I was born in the 80s, but most of my childhood was in the 90s. And Freddy Krueger, I thought he was dumb. Jason, thought he was dumb. Michael Myers, what I knew of Michael Myers was like bad Halloween movies. So I just thought all that shit was dumb. And to this day, still love Scream. I think Scream is like the pinnacle, because it's satirical and in the way that it does things. And also, it was, I Know What You Did Last Summer, and I was into those kind of slashers, which at the beginning at least had a little bit more realism, and to this day I find that kind of stuff to be way more scary than stuff like Freddy, but I do appreciate that stuff a lot more now.
Right.
So, but yeah, Blockbuster definitely, if I would recall, definitely probably police stuff, and maybe they didn't police stuff as hard as they did then, or would now back then, because I mean the 80s and 90s were like the Wild West. So, all right, so we got a favorite movie.
Oh wow. Favorite, wow. So if I'm going movies or film as an art form, Sunset Boulevard.
Okay, that's on my list to watch.
Sunset Boulevard followed. Oh man, God, that's so tough. Like, Taxi Driver is another big one for me. But yeah, I think Sunset Boulevard. Sunset Boulevard has been that movie that my wife and I watched last year, I think, for the first time, and I give it high praise to this day. And we still talk about that, and we'll look for movies to watch, and we'll say we'd love to find something like Sunset Boulevard to watch again, because it's just a beautiful movie. It's tragic, kind of creepy at the same time. It's a Billy Wilder movie, man. So it's well done, and it definitely is.
Yeah, I've only seen 2 of his movies. Oddly enough, both of them have been on the podcast, and that's actually our most recent episode. Was The 7-Year Itch, which if you're not familiar. Out there, audience, it is got one of the most iconic scenes in movie history, the Marilyn Monroe skirt scene. So we definitely dove into that, and then the other one. So I mean, Billy Wilder is like, and I've like only having seen 2 of his movies, I know he's one of like the one of Hollywood's like greatest directors. Just that, especially from like that classic time period, the 50s and stuff. Yes. So I mean, he did at least 2 movies with Marilyn Monroe. He did a movie, the other one that I've seen, Sabrina, which did finish 2018 or 2019, whichever year I saw it, as my number 1 movie for that year that I'd seen for the first time. And it's Audrey and Bogey together on screen, and like those 3 together, that movie was destined to be good. There's too much talent there. So I definitely need to watch more Billy Wilder, and I've heard nothing but good stuff about Sunset Boulevard and The Apartment and Some Like It Hot. So there's a lot that hopefully I'll get into watching more of his catalog.
The Apartment is such a good movie that I believe you could remake that movie today, not change a lick of dialogue, just replace actors, and I think that movie would hold up. And the crazy thing is, I think that movie would get a PG-13 rating today, just based on how they dance around. Have you seen The Apartment?
No, I've only seen Sabrina and the 7-Year Itch.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm not going to spoil it for anybody then, but I'm just going to say that Sunset Boulevard #1. I think The Apartment for me, if we're talking about Billy Wilder movies, is a number 2, a solid number 2.
Yeah, I feel like it's...
Double Indemnity's good. Sabrina's good. I love. I don't think I've ever seen a Billy Wilder movie I haven't loved.
Yeah, so I definitely, like, my agenda is to see more Billy Wilder movies, more Audrey movies, more Bogey movies. So, like, more of that classic Americana Hollywood style stuff. Now, don't get me wrong, I love all of our, like, a lot of our new stuff and the big action and the big set pieces. But some of those old movies, they're classic for a reason, you know?
Oh yeah, 100%.
All right, now that's not what we came here to discuss, but shit happens here on the Schlock Talk. We're actually talking about good movies for a change, but we'll get to the Schlock here in just a few minutes. Y'all hold your horses. All right, so horror, favorite genre, favorite movie is Sunset Boulevard. Who is your favorite director?
Oh man, Billy Wilder.
All right, I kind of suspected that might be where it was going to go, but I didn't know if you were going to come out with like Wes Craven or John Carpenter or something since you like horror so much.
No, it's going to be Billy Wilder. Yeah,
that's a very respectable choice, and I can see, like I said, going forward, like if I watch more of his movies like I want to, I could see him climbing up my favorites list real high. Like I've got my 2 favorites that are kind of in front of everybody else, which is Kurosawa and Tarantino. But I still haven't seen everything from Kurosawa. I've only seen like 9 or 10 of his movies, and he made like 1 million. So,
Sergio Leone's up there too. He's probably my number 2.
Sergio Leone, yeah. Well, he made a few good movies.
He did, yeah. Oh yeah.
All right, so you got an actor and or actress that you preference more than the rest?
Frances McDormand.
Oh, all right, Coen Brothers muse.
Man, I'm telling you what. Have you seen the trailers for the new Macbeth movie yet?
I have not. I think I've seen that that's a thing, but I do not watch trailers, like, unless I literally know nothing of it. But if it shows me a certain actor or actress is in it, or it shows me who the director is, like, I don't need to see it. Like, I haven't watched a single trailer for Spider-Man, and
me either,
because they spoil everything or too much. So I just stay away from them.
Me either. I've not watched any of them either. But she plays Lady Macbeth, and Denzel plays Macbeth, which I'm excited to see that dynamic work between. And it's a Coen brothers presentation of Shakespeare. I'm excited for it. It's going to be pretty wild to watch. But no, she's my favorite because. Just like with Billy Wilder, I don't think she's ever done anything bad. Like going back to Blood Simple. Have you seen all the Coen Brothers movies?
I have not. That's another one of those ones where I've been introduced more to them recently. Like I had seen back in the day, "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?" and I loved that. I love musicals, and I have not seen that probably since I was a teenager or my early 20s. So I definitely need to revisit that. But I did Fargo. We did Fargo on the podcast, and I loved that. I did Lebowski, and I loved that. I rewatched No Country for Old Men a couple months ago. Probably not even 2 months. Probably in November I rewatched it, and the first time I had seen it since like right after it came out on Blu-ray. And I saw it then. I did not like it. And now I definitely appreciate it a lot more.
Movie's terrifying. I love it.
I mean, Javier Bardem, he can never be a good guy because he went from that and he played the bad guy in Bond, and like he's a terrifying human being. And freaking Josh Brolin, well, I'm about to go do something dumber than hell, but I'm gonna do it anyway. And it's like, bruh. So no, I still need to see a lot of their movies. Like I need to see Inside Llewyn Davis, and I need to see Blood Simple and. Tons more that I just haven't seen. They did
Blood Simple is just you see that movie and like the first thing I thought of, because I'd seen No Country first. When I saw Blood Simple, I was like, oh, I get it now. It makes sense. There's a lot of parallel to me between what they did in Blood Simple and what No Country came out and turned out to be. So.
Excellent.
Good stuff. So, but not to cut you off, but real quick, like Francis is probably my favorite. But if we're going to tie this back to Schlock, and I apologize for talking about good movies on a bad movie podcast, but if we're going to tie actors back to Schlock, my favorite Schlock actor is Sid Haig.
Oh man, who doesn't love Captain Spaulding? And we could talk about some good movies. Like we're getting, we're introducing, we're getting to, getting everybody to know you and all of that. So it's perfectly fine. It's not like we're about to watch like Night Flyer or talk about Night Flyer like I did with Carl. So
so everybody knows Sid from House of a Thousand Corpses because he's Captain Spaulding, and I'm glad he did Captain Spaulding for those movies. It brought him back and made him relevant again. If you've ever seen Jackie Brown with, Tarantino's Jackie Brown, he's the judge. If you go back and watch it, Tarantino brought him in to be the judge, and he didn't tell. Oh my gosh, I'm having a brain fart. He didn't tell the cast that Sid was there, and the cast was kind of awestruck by the fact that Sid was the judge out of nowhere. But Sid goes way back into schlocky movies. He did Spider Baby with Lon Chaney Jr., before Lon Chaney died back in the 60s. And, he did a lot of the Filipino and Indonesian cheap women in prison movies during the late 60s, early 70s. He did a lot of Roger Corman stuff. There's a movie, if you ever get to see it, called Galaxy of Terror. And it was a Corman movie. I want to say James Cameron worked on it, and the script had Sid Haig with lines. His character had lines in the script. Sid read the script, thought the script was so bad, he played the movie as a mute. He never says a word in the entire movie because his lines were so terrible he refused to say them. Oh. So he is my favorite schlock actor, bar none.
I love having someone on here who has just this plethora of knowledge, especially about this kind of schlocky stuff. I can, on the main podcast, like Justin and I typically have a pretty good plethora of knowledge of, stars and directors and, releases and that kind of stuff. Like, obviously, we have gaps and stuff, and I typically, I think, know more about blockbusters, and he knows more about, like, art house. But just having someone on here with just like this random plethora, Sid Haig did this, and then because of this, that is awesome. So that's I appreciate that tidbit of info there. Yeah, so do you remember the first movie you saw at the theater?
It was Masters of the Universe. I think in 1985
with Dolph Lundgren.
Dolph Lundgren as He-Man, which is funny because I was going to bring that up about this movie we're going to talk about.
Oddly enough, so for the next episode of the main podcast, Justin had a list for me to pick from, which was 80s movies that he needed to see, and one of them was He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, and I was about to pick it. But he had 2 John Carpenter movies that I'd never seen on there, so it lost out to that. But that almost happened. That's pretty funny.
So that's the first movie I saw. The second movie I saw in the theaters was the Garbage Pail Kids movie.
Oh, I didn't even know was the thing. But finally, I got someone. Now you're the second person that has seen a movie before me on here. Everybody else, we got like Jenna was like her first movie was like Lord of the Rings. I'm
old, dude.
I'm trying to remember what Ian told me.
Wait, no. So if we really want to go far back, so the first movie I know that I saw because I begged my mom to take me to it was Masters of the Universe. So I was old enough and coherent enough to see the trailer on TV and say I want to see that. So that was 1985. I was 5 years old. Okay. In 1980. I was just a baby, but my mom went to the movies and she saw The Best Little Whorehouse in Texas with Dolly Parton and Burt Reynolds, and she carried me with her. And the thing I'll never forget about it, even though I don't remember it, my sisters pick on her because my sisters are much older and they went too, They said when my mom got to the ticket counter to buy her ticket for the movie, my mom didn't want to say whorehouse, so she tried to dance around it by saying she wanted to see the Burt Reynolds and Dolly Parton movie.
Nice.
So the first movie, the first film I think I was ever in the theater for was The Best Little Whorehouse in Town.
Nice. So I don't know if anything like that happened with me. The first one I remember was Who Framed Roger Rabbit. And I don't have any other recollection between that and Jurassic Park. I'm sure there was. I just don't have the recollection of it.
Even when I was a kid, man, I wanted to see the weird stuff. Like even back then, thinking about it now, like the third movie that I can remember going to the movies to see was Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead. And I don't remember anything else really beyond that until I got into high school. So
I got you. To be fair, like Who Framed Roger Rabbit's probably pretty weird. It definitely, says it's a kids movie, but they're like genociding cartoons and shit. Like that's kind of out there.
Jessica Rabbit, man, the innuendo with Jessica Rabbit and Bob Hoskins, just yeah, you're right. There's some double entendres throughout that movie.
All right, so what would be your like favorite experience watching a movie? Where the theater, at home, just favorite movie watching experience?
Wow. So one that's pretty recent. I saw Once Upon a Time in Hollywood in the theaters, and it was just me and my wife. She was living and working in Nashville at the time, so I flew out there to see her. This was before we got married. We went to this beautiful AMC theater there, and there was us and I think maybe one or two other couples, and it was the really nice theater seating with the reclining seats, the leather seats, and it was a small, more intimate theater. Just to watch that movie on the big screen like that was just, it wasn't loud, wasn't obnoxious, it was just a great time overall. It's funny, I don't remember so many of the good times in the movies as I do the bad times. Like, I remember, have you ever seen House of Wax with Paris Hilton?
I saw that last Halloween, I believe it was, yeah.
God almighty. So I lived in Laurinburg here in North Carolina for a little while after I graduated college, and where my apartments were, there was literally just a small two-screen theater right across the street. So House of Wax came, and I went over opening night to see it, and I'm in this little theater is packed with people. So, and this is during the time that It's Simple Life was out, so Paris was kind of the hot thing at the moment, and that made sense why there were so many people there. But I'm sitting there, and this movie starts, and then these people come in and sit right in front of me, and the dude starts smoking in the theater. Now, this is 2004-ish, 2005-ish, I can't remember exactly when, somewhere in that neighborhood. So this dude is smoking in a packed theater, and he's playing on a phone. This is pre-iPhone, so I don't think it was a smartphone, but he was just kept his phone open the whole time. And then he's talking to the girl next to him about how he's already seen this movie, and he spoiled the entire movie. Like, every time a new scene was getting ready to happen, he would lean over and as loud as he could tell her what was happening. So those are the kind of experiences in the theater that I remember more vividly than, just the good ones, I guess.
I guess I should have said like just memorable in general, but it could have been anything where you like watch.
Oh, wait, I got a good one. Sorry. So you can cuss on this thing, right?
Yeah, you say where the fuck you want.
So in college, or not in college, in high school, I went to see Wishmaster.
Oh boy.
And a girl sat in a guy's lap in the row in front of me and my girlfriend at the time, and he finger banged her throughout that entire movie.
All right, that's impressive. Like, keep that up for like an hour and a half to 2 hours.
They sat over to the far end next to the curtain. If you remember, some theaters, maybe they still do, they had curtains on the walls, I guess, to deaden the sound.
Yeah, that
And they
sounds
sat
right.
over as far as they could to that, and they both squeezed into this teeny tiny little theater seat. And he finger banged her the whole movie, which was far more entertaining than Wishmaster was.
Oh boy, Wishmaster was actually one of the first movies I ever saw on DVD. Back when DVDs still looked like VCR players. So I'd gotten. I don't remember how I came into having a DVD player. I know that my mom or that my dad and my stepmom didn't buy it for me. So I don't know how in the hell I came across it. But I had a DVD player. I didn't have any DVDs. So, but my buddy down the street from me, his parents had DVDs, and so they let me borrow them. But I mean, it was still early in the DVD world where they had the plastic backs with the cardboard fronts, and clipped over. So it was like all three Wishmasters or something at that point. And yeah, no, that was oof. I just remember hitting one of them. The Wishmaster is like playing his lawyer or something, and he's like, or he tells somebody to go fuck themselves, and then the dude breaks in half and fucks himself, and I'm like, that doesn't even actually work, but okay. So, all right, we got one more, and then we're gonna move on because normally we're at 30 minutes. We're normally ending this podcast, and we hadn't even got into the nitty gritty. So,
my bad, dude. I can talk about movies all night.
Dude, it's all good, man. It's all good. No worries. Apparently, you have never listened to our main podcast where I'm like, hey, we need to be like an hour and a half, and then it's at 3 hours long. So me and Justin can run our mouths with the best of them. So it's good. It's good to have another person on. What is? No, I already asked that. Okay, the first movie that was more than just a movie, like that made you realize it was art, or just had sentimental value to you, just whatever, however you want to interpret that.
Holy crap, dude! Wow. The first movie that made me realize that movies were more. Wow, man, that's a God. I don't want to say you stumped me because there's definitely movies out there. I honestly, Touch of Evil with Orson Welles.
Mm-hmm.
That maybe actually no, I take that back. Psycho.
Oh, okay, that's
Psycho.
A good one.
I think seeing Psycho, like, because one of the so I went to Universal Studios when I was like in 8th grade in Florida, and they had the Psycho. They had the Alfred Hitchcock Experience is what it was called, and they brought you through and you watched a bit of the birds in 3D, and then they had this little scenario, and it was almost like murder mystery theater where they brought you out and you had to determine who had killed the Janet Leigh's character in the movie. And we played that little game on the inside of it. And they also showed this little reel of things that Hitchcock did in his movies that were movie magic, quote unquote. And one of the things they talked about is how he knew that the film was being filmed in black and white. So he could do things to amplify color because he knew even if it wasn't the accurate color, the people watching it would never know. So when Janet Leigh's character gets killed in the shower scene, the famous shower scene, and he pans down and you watch blood going down the drain, it's not actually blood, it's actually grape soda that they just poured into the water because he knew it would look like blood without having to pay a prop master for, fake blood that was just going to be wasted for a shot anyway. That was black and white.
Oh yeah, see, that's being a master of your craft, and knowing that kind of stuff. The fact that he used grape soda, so it also looked more liquidy. I saw that movie for the first time two years ago, I think, when Carl and I watched that, and that movie is fantastic. Like, obviously, you know why it's an all-time classic. they hit you with they freak you with the okey doke. Where you think Janet Leigh is the main character and is going to be in the whole movie, and then she's not. So, that's a fantastic movie. So I asked this question, and I always say that it's American Beauty, because I saw it my first year, my only year of college. We had to watch it for like whatever the freshman introductory class was. I don't even remember why the hell we had to watch it. And that's the one I always say, but like I kind of start thinking about it, I think it might be a little bit earlier than that. So when we were talking off air, we were talking about how my friend Troy got me into watching like Rurouni Kenshin and Hellsing, but besides that, he introduced me to the Boondock Saints and to Pulp Fiction. Mm-hmm. And then, by extension, also into Kill Bill the following year, the same year as, actually in theater for Kill Bill. But, sitting there thinking about it, one of the things I remember enjoying about the Boondock Saints, and obviously it's nowhere near as an artistic of a movie as like American Beauty or most other things. It's just an action movie. But the way that it was cut, the disheveled timelines and mixed in like the classical style music. You have like this great actor in Willem Dafoe, and I think that that movie was my favorite movie for a long time. And I think maybe even it goes back to there, and even like Pulp Fiction, because I remember that would be the one. Because being in like 2001, 2002, the movie's less than 10 years old. We're all being teenagers, probably having access to it. So I'm telling all my friends, hey, we need to watch this movie. I guess 18, so 2003. But so I think it actually might be one of those two movies more than American Beauty. But that is like what I remember being like the first really like kind of artsy movie that I remember watching. So
yeah, and people talked during that time. People talked during that time when American Beauty came out about how artistic a Best Picture winner it was for the period. I don't know if it's held up so much, but that's another conversation for another podcast.
Yeah, for sure. But that is definitely one I need to revisit. So, all right, we are going to finally make our way to the main event of the evening, Ninja III Domination. So, it is a 1984 American martial arts action horror film. Not words I ever thought I would say together. And it is part of an anthology series where there's Ninja 1 and Revenge of the Ninja. They don't have anything to do with Ninja 3. So this is the surprising thing to me. So I went looking to see what kind of budget it had. And I actually looked through 3 or 4 or 5 places and could not find how much it cost to make the movie. However, in 1984, it did make $7.6 million in the domestic box office. So it did get as high as number 7, so it was never near the top. But to make $7 million is kind of crazy. It's a little over 20 million today for inflation. So I don't even know really where we're going to start with this movie. It's clearly a cult movie, and it is very low budget, and it is very 80s, like crazy 80s.
So can I interject something real quick about this movie?
Sure.
Talking about it being 80s and it being quintessential 80s, it really is. How familiar are you with Canon Films, the production company behind this movie? Do you know much about them at all?
Off the top of my head, I can't say that I do.
Okay. You've heard of Breaking 2 Electric Boogaloo, correct?
Yes, I have heard of that.
So Canon is the production company behind Breaking 2 Electric Boogaloo. The guys who own Canon Films were 2 Israeli gentlemen who came to the United States to make movies, and they wanted movies to be big and flashy and have big stars. They wanted, and when you talk about things being quintessentially 80s, that's and this movie being quintessential, that's what I think of. You know, it's explosions, it's hot women getting naked, and you know, all this action, and not a whole lot of plot. And if there is plot, it isn't really discernible. And that's kind of what Cannon was into. And they brought in people like Charles Bronson, who's one of my favorite actors of all time. You know, I'd put him up there with Francis. I love Charles Bronson and the movies he makes. But they brought him in to do like Death Wish 2, 3, 4, and 5, which are just, they're loosely related to the first Death Wish he did back in the 70s, but they're just batshit crazy movies with just a bunch of bad guys with no real discernible plot, and he just keeps shooting everybody. And then they also paid a whole bunch of money to have Stallone. So Stallone went to Cannon and did movies like Over the Top, which was the arm wrestling movie. I don't know if you've ever seen that one. He plays a truck driver named Hawk, and he has to win an arm wrestling competition in Las Vegas to get his son back. It's one of those crazy movies. And then he also did Cobra. I don't know if you've ever seen Cobra with Stallone.
I've seen both of those, actually.
You know, he cuts pizza with a pair of scissors in Cobra. You know, them crazy kind of movies. And he also did Masters of the Universe and the Garbage Pail Kids movie. And, you know, this kind of movie, Ninja III The Domination, is exactly... This is a quintessential Cannon movie, and it is a quintessential 80s movie in all aspects. Sorry, I didn't want to ramble, but
no, you're good. You've got some good insight on the movie, a little bit more than I found out. So actually, while you were talking there, I was like, Cannon, I feel like I remember Cannon. So we just did an episode 6, and this is episode 9, I think, or 10 that we're recording. I lose track. The episode that came out in the first part of December, we did the Cyborg episode with me and Justin, and that is a Cannon movie. And it was one of those things where they wanted him to be in like Delta Force, and he chose not to do Delta Force, and went to Chuck, and he did Cyborg instead. And they had the rights to Spider-Man, and then that movie, because they were in financial trouble, they canned Spider-Man and the Masters of the Universe sequel, and then you use the sets and costumes and stuff for Cyborg. So that's kind of interesting. There's all these little things we keep talking about that are tying back to other things. And I guess going forward, if I keep doing 80s schlock movies, there's going to probably be a lot of that Cannon production group. So that's interesting to look forward to.
Heck yeah, man. I'm all for it, too. If you want to do another one about a Cannon movie, let me know, because I will definitely do it.
Hell yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So one thing I will straight up, if you're looking online, if you're going to look this movie up, Ninja III The Domination, to see what we're talking about, you were talking about how you were drawn to like the covers and stuff as a child. Dude, as an adult, I'm drawn to this cover. It's got like 2 ninjas on the front, one's in a shadow in the background, one is, you can obviously tell it's a hot chick, holding a katana. Like, what else I don't even need anything else. You could just literally be like, here's a movie, it has a hot chick being a ninja. I'm fucking sold. I don't need to know anything else. Now, do I know that it's probably bad up front? Yes. That doesn't change the fact that I'm gonna watch it. Like, this cover looks so cool. It looks really 80s. And like I said, you know, you definitely grew up more in the 80s, but I definitely still appreciate the 80s and love the 80s. It looks so cool, but it also, you know, like, you look at it, especially now as an adult, and you're like, man, this movie is going to be some hot-ass trash, and baby, was it some hot-ass trash. So we're going to start off, no explanation or anything, there's just a ninja on a golf course. And then you've got this dude playing golf, and it's like him and his wife, or him and his girlfriend, or his side piece, or whatever, and he's got a bunch of security guards around him.
For no reason. We don't know any reason why this dude deserves all the security. We also don't know why he's being hunted by a ninja, which starts out in a random cave pulling out weapons. Man, okay. I'm sorry.
No, look, I'm not going to go through this movie beat for beat, because that's not how we typically do things on this episode. But the beginning is just absolutely fucking bonkers. So, like, he has the security guards look for his golf ball, and the ninja picks it up and crushes it in front of him, and I'm just like, okay. And then the ninja proceeds to beat the shit and kill all these security guards.
He kills everybody.
And about he blocks one of the security guards picks up a golf club and swings it at him, and he just blocks it, and it wraps around his arm. So we're like, oh, this man's like Superman. And then he runs down and catches a golf cart, which is okay. That's feasible in theory, but the guy had already started. You're probably not catching it. No, he catches it and holds it, and then like lifts it off the ground before he goes into a fight with the cops that like resembles the fucking shootout in Hard Boiled. It just never. It's nowhere near as good. I don't even try to think that I'm comparing this movie to Hard Boiled as in quality. It's just that's how ridiculous the fight scene with these cops are. You ever played a video game and you're just in a spot where you can farm and the enemies keep coming and coming and coming? That's what this was. Is they just kept coming and coming. He's out running. He went from being on the green to in a desert, which they were in Arizona, but there was no cut. He was just in the desert running with all these cops chasing him. He takes out a helicopter. He's like taking bullets. He's obliterating people. Like I guess he got into some cocaine or something, dude. I don't even know, man. The beginning of that movie was bonkers.
A few things, and the whole. Okay, so the first time I ever watched this movie, I didn't know what I was getting into, but I'd been on a message board back in the early 2000s, and somebody mentioned it was a bad movie message board, and somebody mentioned this movie just being so crazy to watch just for the opening scene. So when I finally got to watch it for the first time, if this opening scene does not pull you into this movie for, oh my God, what is happening? Like this is the kind of movie that I think if you're just flipping through the channels on basic cable and you come across this movie, if that opening scene is happening, you're stopping to watch it because it's explosions. There are, I don't want to steal your thunder, but just a few of the crazy things that happen in the beginning of this. Okay, he shoots out a blow dart that goes into the barrel of the revolver the guy's holding, and it explodes in his face. Remember that?
Oh, yeah. That happened. And that was the first thing that came to my head was Sin City. It was like, oh, Jackie boy, don't fire. She's blocked. She's
Yes. Yes. Okay. And then there's all these random cops, like cops on motorcycles, cops in cars, like you said, cops in a friggin' helicopter show up. Like, who was this guy he just killed on the golf course? And I've been thinking about it all day because I watched it again last night. It's never explained why he's out for vengeance against this random dude on the golf course and why this guy needed all this security. But again, to go back to the Canon Films mantra, explosions, ninjas, naked women, blood, let's do it all. No plot, no understanding of what's going on whatsoever.
I do think they said he was a scientist. They said, a scientist was killed on the golf course, but they don't explain why he's in, trying to develop or study or anything like that. It's just, dude killed a scientist. And we're talking about naked women. This is the kind of movie you need some fucking titties in, and they let me down. They let me down in a big way. The damn scene where Christy walks out and the cop's in a room and she walks out and she's in a robe and or in a towel coming out the shower, and I'm like, they are about to bang. She is going to be naked, and then she puts a shirt on for them to bang. What the fuck, man?
Okay, so we got a little bit of explaining to do between the stuff on the golf course and that scene, but it ain't that far apart. We're only talking about 5 minutes between those two scenes. So
the ninja he's been shot. He rises from the grave like Michael Myers at the end of Halloween Kills. Not very shitty ending. And yes, that was a pot shot at you.
But hold on, let's talk about that scene for 1 second. So this ninja's been running from all these cops, hundreds of cops on this golf course. And then when he finally gets surrounded and they're shooting him from all sides, no care in the world that somebody else is in the line of fire. They're just in a circle, literally a circle around this dude, shooting at him. That's when he throws his little smoke bomb to get away. Why didn't he do that 5 minutes ago when the cops were on his tail after he had jumped off the helicopter into the water and was using the cane to breathe underwater as he came back up? Why didn't he do any of that before that? And then he burrows down like a snake in the sand to get them off of his tail. Why didn't he do all that stuff earlier?
Also, he literally climbed up a palm tree after he had already been on the palm tree with like a hook shot. He got down off the palm tree, then climbed back up the palm tree and was hiding in the leaves. You couldn't see him. Just stay there. They will have lost you. Nope, he gets out and has to fuck with the helicopter. I don't know. He was just flexing. He knew he was a badass, and he I guess he had to flex on him.
He was like Ezio in Assassin's Creed. You know, hiding in a bale of hay on the ground.
He just flexed on him, and then he gets out of the sand and he runs into Christy. Christy works for the telephone company, and she's working the pole.
Strong, again, totally 80s movie, man. Strong, independent woman doing what is typically perceived to be a man's job. She's a telephone pole worker.
Yeah, I mean, I even said, I was like, oh, there's the badass chick. I'm fucking in. Let's go. But she sees him, like, how she doesn't see the whole battle, hear the battle, anything. She just sees him staggering about, and she goes to check on him, and then he starts talking to her in Japanese and gives her his sword, which, by the way, that is the best sword I think I've ever seen in a movie. The stop, whatever you call the stop on a katana, is clearly just foam. Or rubber or something, just black rubber. The sword doesn't even have a curve to it. It just comes to that slanted point at the end. I'm not going to say it was made out of tinfoil because it wasn't that cheaply made, but it definitely was real cheap.
There's multiple katanas they use in this movie to represent that katana, and you can tell that's the prop katana. But they talk about this katana being ancient. And there's clearly a scene where they pull the sleeve or the whatever you call it off to see the glimmer of the blade, and the blade is laser etched, so it can't be that ancient if it's got laser etching along the blade line.
That's very true. I did notice that, and I was just like, that's how they're trying to make it be a katana. They're so Homegirl does, she has both a payphone and an arcade cabinet in her apartment, which is kind of cool.
So is it just, again, I think they're playing against stereotypes, trying to make her this strong, independent woman in the 80s. That is a bachelor's pad if I've ever seen one.
Bro, right? And then she added a katana to it.
Yes. Yes, so they did everything they could to try to give her this toughness, and then they cut to her being a jazzercise instructor.
Hey, well, they had the cop pass out while doing the jazzercise, and then she beats up a whole bunch of dudes that were like trying to assault another lady, and then trying to assault her. The cop watches. And then he's like, you could have got arrested for assault. I was like, bitch, they were trying to rape her.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And somehow, that's the time where she finally decides that he's okay. And she's like, well, I don't have any coffee at my house, but I got V8. And I didn't at the time realize what she had said. I was like, what the fuck did she say she had at the house? No, it was. I realized a little while later that it was definitely V8, and then very much chuckled at the message you sent me about V8.
Wait, we're gonna get there, but before we get there, hold on. So the girl getting harassed outside of the Jazzercise studio. The other thing that was very 80s about this is the Jazzercise is going on. And my wife even made comment about how creepy this was. They show these guys pumping weights like right there where they're jazzercising, and those were the creepiest look. I mean, like those were like pedophile level creep looks those dudes were giving these women while they're sitting there on these 80s weightlifting machines, watching these ladies in the leotards and the leg warmers, do the jazzercise thing. Anyway, my wife was creeped out by the creepy guys, so they did a good job with that part. So.
Oh yeah, they were very creepy. And I thought it was funny that she just literally beat the hell out of them. And then, so we're back to, they had the little conversation in his I've got a small dick car. And, so I guess she goes to shower after the jazzercise and comes out in the towel, and he's got his V8. And then, like I said, she turns around and she shows in the back, and that she's in her panties, and then puts on like a button-up shirt with no bra, literally to go sit on top of him.
Mm-hmm.
And then they make out a little bit, and then she takes the V8 and like pours it down her chest.
Sure does. And
then like gymnastic leans back, and he goes on top and starts like licking it off of her.
Oh my God! So evidently whoever owns a V8, whatever company owns a V8, gave Canon a bunch of money for product placement, because the way she holds that can, it's not like she just says like vegetable juice. She calls it V8, and it clearly shows the V8 emblem to the camera as she's doing this. Now, I've seen the strip club stuff where they'll pour shots on women and do stuff like that, and I've seen people take whipped cream and do kinky stuff. This is the only time I've ever seen a can of V8 used in a sex scene.
Right? I mean, it does make sense, because she turned down the Coke, and it was very clearly a Coke. Like, they had the Coke facing the camera. And, she said she didn't drink coffee because it was bad for you. So, she's a health fanatic. But so it makes sense, but also at the same time, like, what? And now, if the opening wasn't already bonkers enough, this is where this movie goes off the goddamn rails. Like, and not even necessarily in a good way. Now we've got flying swords, spirits, one-eyed assassins from Japan with a slot in their eye hole, or eye patch rather. Like, it just gets even more bonkers.
The katana comes alive, or it starts floating around and glowing in the apartment and waking her up, and then when she grabs a hold of the katana, this is pretty racist, but they slanted her eyes a little bit. Did you notice that I did a odd thing with her?
Yeah, I definitely noticed it. Because one of the things I noticed about the first ninja was that he had on a bunch of eyeliner, and I was like, oh, yeah. All of a sudden she has a bunch of eyeliner, and it made her eyes look very slanted.
It wasn't even that. They also did her eyebrows. Like, they trimmed her eyebrows back and pinned them back further and made them very sharp and narrow to give her kind of a furrowed brow look without her brow being furrowed, if that makes any sense. It's just weird.
Yeah, but later on in the movie, like when she's the ninja, she just looks normal. You had the thing where the arcade machine is shooting lights at her, all up and down her.
Lasers from the club, man, and smoke everywhere.
Oh yeah, no, they were definitely in the club, and there was a bottle full of bub.
And Home Skillet cop guy slept through it all.
Dude, she put it on him. She probably had muscles he didn't even know about. Dude, she put the good on him. So,
oh man.
His gun might have been a 6-shooter. He was probably like a 2-shooter, but that's neither here nor there. So now we've got another ninja or a guy coming in trying to stop her because they know she's possessed, and she's having flashbacks of all the cops that killed the ninja, and so she's trying to kill them. Yeah, it kind of
I'm sorry. It makes the ninja from the beginning that died, which she has evidently taken on the spirit of. It makes you sympathetic to him, but then you realize through other flashbacks from the one-eyed ninja that the first ninja whose spirit she is now holding is actually the bad guy of the movie.
Yeah, because at first you think the one-eyed guy is the bad guy, but the kind of the middle of the movie there, I'm not even gonna lie, like I think like missed some parts. It got a little hazy. It kind of like ran together a little bit. I know the plot got a little like went off the rails, but it did get a little hazy there. But then you kind of you like you said, you find out that he's the bad guy. And they're all chasing after Christy and her possessed body. And then she ends up, I guess, at a temple. Because when she's not possessed, she's normal, but then, she almost killed Home Skillet at one point, right after telling him she loved him.
Yeah, that was weird. Weird. He took her to. It would not be an 80s ninja Oriental movie without a James Hong appearance. So he takes him to James Hong, who I guess is the friendly local ninja spirit exorcist, and tries to find out what's going on in her. Remember that scene where they just show up like you're on a date to do this?
I mean, the couple that exercises together stays together.
It's batshit crazy, man.
I'm sorry. Instead of
crazy.
It should be like, how can I combine X-Source, Jazzor-size? I don't know. But yeah, so they get the spirit out of her, and now he comes back to life and starts fighting the one-eyed ninja, and then she's kind of like laying on the floor, and then Home Skillet finds her, and they say they love each other, and then the big fight's actually kind of pretty decent. I mean,
it is, but man, so it is Hong Kong action for like 3 minutes solid, and that now I'll let you say it. I think you know where I'm going. So
well, maybe I don't know. One of the things I wanted to like some of the sword slashes, and this was even in the big bonkers opening scene, and you can just so clearly tell they don't even hit. But I know at one point that he has like a chain and he's fighting him. Like it's just, oh man, it was a thing. I'm gonna let you say your piece here.
The ending though was so anticlimactic. For them to go through this 3, 4, 5 minute long fight, which I thought was pretty good, all things considered, because I'm kind of like you. Every time I've ever watched this movie, the beginning of it is the best part of the movie by far. Like the first half hour of this movie is just cheesy goodness, and it's fun to watch. And then whenever she's doing her job and she's stalking these cops when she has these flashbacks to kill them, it kind of the movie kind of lulls, and then you get to this climactic ending where he has put the spirit back into the dead ninja, and the ninja is now alive again, and they're having this awesome fight. And then, spoilers, I don't want to spoil things too bad for anybody who hadn't seen it, and actually I won't. I'll just say that you
can go ahead. We're a spoiler show, so at this point, if you have not seen this 1984 movie, we are about to spoil it. Now, to be fair, I'd never seen it till today. But remember, we are watching this hot ass trash, so you don't have to. So,
exactly.
Spoilers, and take it away.
So she grabs the katana because her and Home Skillet police officer are just kind of standing there calmly watching this balls to the wall action, on the edge of a cliff, mind you.
Well, of course, it has to be on the edge of a cliff for heightened drama.
She grabs a katana and then stabs him to kill him, and that's it. Yeah, I mean, this is a supernatural ninja, and all it takes is this woman.
She must have still had ninja left in her from him, because only a ninja can destroy a ninja.
I guess.
I have no clue. Remember, plot. What is plot?
There is no plot in this movie. I mean, there's a loose plot, but again, it's a canon movie, and it was all about the boom booms and bang bangs and explosions and everything else. And let's be honest, they shot their wad in the first 30 minutes.
Oh, yeah, no, they probably, whatever budget they had, they definitely spent on whatever deal they made with V8, whatever deal they had to get that arcade cabinet for that game that never actually ended up coming out, and then that scene at the beginning with all the guns and the helicopter. Yeah, no, that was like their whole budget.
100%.
Alrighty, everybody, so that is going to bring us to the close of another fantastic episode of Schlock Talk. As always, you can find me on Letterboxd at letterboxd.com/Joey_P. You can find me on Twitter at average_Joe_E. You can email me or Justin at the Average Joe's Movie Clubcast at gmail.com, which is right on our Facebook page. You can hit the big button. It'll do everything for you just about. We'd love to hear from you. Any suggestions for more Schlock Talk or anything even on the main cast, we'd love to hear from you. Do you have anything if people want to get in touch with you? Twitter, Letterboxd? You don't have to. Just if you want to shout it out, go right ahead.
Yeah, my Letterboxd is just like Joey's. It's letterboxd.com/Agger1103, AGGR1103.
Yep. And it's been fun having you on. This was a very great and lively discussion. We definitely need to do it more often.
Yeah, man.
So I'll probably bring you back. That's what I like to do. I like to bring people back and go through some different stuff. So I definitely believe we'll be doing that in the future. So I did, if you do want to watch this movie or find this movie, it is streaming in a couple of places. You can, you know what? I killed where it was streaming at, but it's like Flix, Paramount Plus, and a couple of other places. You can find it on Letterboxd or Google where it's streaming. It does have a couple of boutique Blu-ray releases on Scream Factory in the UK on Eureka, and then it was re-released in a collector's edition Blu-ray set also by Scream Factory. So you can find this and watch this if you want. I don't know if I recommend it. At least watch the first 20-30 minutes for the bonker scene, and that'll probably get you covered. And with that being said, thank you, everybody. Y'all have a good night. And remember, here at Schlock Talk, we watch hot-ass trash, so you don't have to. Have a good night.